श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। मीना जी, विल यू प्लीज?
ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवतां नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुदन्धामि भगवद्गीते भवेद्वेषिणीम्। नमोस्तुते व्यास विशाल बुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दाय तपत्र येन त्वया भारत तैलपूर्णं प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्न पारिजाताय तत्रेकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गान्धार नीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वीणा वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामा विकर्ण घोर मकरा दुर्योधना वर्तिनी तो सोत्तीर्णा खलु पांडवै रणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधना बोधितं लोके सज्जन षट्पदैर् हरः पेपीयमान मुदा भूयात् भारत पंकजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिनिः श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातम् अहं वन्दे परमानन्द माधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्र रुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैः स्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थित तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो पश्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः।
We will start from verse number 28. Shubha Shubha Phalerevam. Veena ji, if you are online, will you please chant from 28 to 32?
Yes, sir. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Shubha Shubha Phalairevam Mokshase Karma Bandhanaihi Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimukto Mamu Pashyasi Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu Name Dveshosti Na Priyaha Ye Bhajanti Tu Mam Bhaktya Mayi Teshu Chapyaham अपि चेत् सुदुराचारो भजते मामनन्यभाक् साधुरेव समन्तव्यः सम्यग्वसितो हि सः क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा शश्वच्छान्तिं निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीह न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति माहि पार्थ व्यपाश्रित्य येऽपि स्युः पापयोनयः स्त्रियो वैश्यस्तथा शूद्र तेऽपि यान्ति परां गतिम्.
So we were to do manan on this. Why is it? What is the Papa Yoni? Why is he specifically categorizing Stri, Vaishya, Shudra, etc.? Mam hi partha vyapashritya yepi syu Papa Yonayah Striyo Vaishyastatha Shudras tepi yanti param gatim. So any thoughts, any manan that has been done? What is the Papa Yoni? What is the meaning of this? Why is he denigrating the Shudra or the Vaishya? On one hand, we are saying if he is the Advaitic view, then there should be no distinction. So, can we have any thoughts on this?
सर, स्त्री को पाप योनि इसलिए माना गया है क्योंकि उसमें स्त्री को काम का प्रतीक माना गया है, तो शायद इसीलिए उसको पाप योनि माना गया है कि स्त्री के अंदर एक विशेष बात होती है कि कोई भी पुरुष उसको देख करके आकर्षित होता है तो वो पाप योनि। और शूद्र नहीं पता।
Okay, anybody else?
जो अदर कास्ट होता है वो कास्ट डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होता है, तो जो भगवान के अंदर जो सरेंडर होता है अपने आप को, तो उनके सामने कोई जाति का डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं होता है। सो
Okay.
ऐसा है। सो इसीलिए एक कहानी है जो भक्त कनकदास की, जो उडुपी श्री कृष्ण मंदिर में उनको बाहर मंदिर के अंदर दर्शन के लिए अलाउड नहीं किया था, तो उनकी भक्ति, क्योंकि वो कुरुब लोअर कास्ट की वजह से, तो बट ही वाज टोटली सरेंडर विद कृष्णा एंड so he sang a song. He stood behind the temple and he sang the song, and the statue turned to that one. So that story is related to this person.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Yes, Raghuji.
This is, can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
Hari Om, sir. Yes. This is again the difference between the Paramarthika Satta and the Vyavaharika Satta. So in the Vyavaharika Satta, the relationships, the importance to different acts and people, the political realities, all that play a role in the Vyavaharika Satta. It doesn't play any role in the Paramarthika Satta. So
I don't know, I can't hear him at all. Raghuji, at least I'm not able to hear you.
So the problem is I cannot speak too loud. I'm sitting in a airport area. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So in the, what he is trying to say here is actually to draw that distinction and highlight to Arjuna that in the reality that they are trying to perceive, all of these distinctions don't play a role. They play a role only in the Vyavaharika Satta, but not in the Paramarthika Satta, which is what the focus of this 18 chapters is.
Okay. Yes, Parthuda. Yes, Parthuda.
Yeah. This is a very controversial verse according to me, and quite difficult in that to interpret. So I while doing Manan, I divided it into two parts. One is the Vaishya and Sudra, why he is talking about this, and women separately. And I will address both. Now let me go to Vaishyas and Sudras. In chapter 4, verse 13, we saw that he created this Varna Shama Dharma, the four kind of thing, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. Now, there also he said that the gist was that it is not what we acquire by birth, but it is what we acquire by our karma. So I think that was a central point. So for a moment, we'll think that I am not Sudra because of my birth. I am Sudra because of my karma. Similarly, I'm not a Brahmin because of my birth. I'm a Brahmin because of my karma. So that is one. So I'm not actually thinking of them as of sinful birth. In fact, when I come to the interpretation of women, this becomes all the more important because Papa Yoni is not actually a sinful birth, but more an imperfect birth. That is one kind of explanation. Now, why he is talking about imperfect birth? Because women are not women according to Krishna by their birth, the feminine qualities that they have. So I thought even a man can be having feminine qualities, or a woman can have masculine qualities. So these are the qualities a person acquires is more important for this classification. The other way I looked at it was the time when Krishna was telling this to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. What were the societal norms that point of time? Women was looked down upon. It was a casteist society. It was a hierarchical society. So at that point of time, women was used to be looked down upon. They were not given any pride or place in society. So he is telling, though they are treated like these, but as far as I am concerned, I treat all of them alike, and I go only by their degree of devotion and nothing else. And we ourselves have seen in later years, in our memory, Ma Sarada, we worship her as goddess. Then Ma Anandamayi, then our dear Radharani, Mirabai, you name it, there are so many. And we treat them as goddess. They're women. So I think that meaning, if I look like at this verse like this gives the meaning. Otherwise, it is a very, very difficult and controversial shloka.
So, okay. So let us first examine it from number one, this is it's actually a very positively oriented shloka. A very positively oriented shloka, for the simple reason that at a very broad meaning, he basically says your gender, nature of birth, your caste, your creed, your language, everything that is in your to use what Raghuji defined very clearly, in my vyavaharika satta, is completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Right? Which is what Acharya said in his Manisha Panchakam. Samne Chandal hai, Samne Chandal, who is supposed to be eating dogs, and he's carrying his dogs with him, is accepted as the guru of Bhagavan Shankaracharya himself. Caste was not a function of birth till a point before even Sri Ram. Right. However, even then there were aberrations, even in that period of time, whether it was Sri Ram himself or whether it was later on. For example, Parashuram. He is actually classified as a Kshatriya. But he was born out of one of the Saptarshis. In one of the yugas, Jamalagni was a Saptarshi. So, of the purest of Brahmins, he was born. There is a story behind that, how the mix-up happened and how the genetics got mixed up and all that, but that's a different thing. But the fact remains that Parashuram an incarnation is deemed to be is a Kshatriya, born out of a Brahmin, right? Krishna is deemed to be a Yadava. Technically, in our times, OBC, right? He is from an OBC caste, right? Then the epitome of the Vedas, which all Brahmins are supposed to chant at least 108 times in a day and 3 times during the day, the Gayatri Mantra. Who is the founder or discoverer of that? Vishwamitra. What was Vishwamitra by birth? By birth, he was a Kshatriya. He was a second cousin to Parshuram. So he is the discoverer of the Gayatri Mantra. So birth and caste. So Yudhishthira in Yaksha Prashna is asked, what makes a Brahmin? And he gives him choice, birth, etc., etc. And Yudhishthira very categorically says, character alone determines what is a Brahmin. So from a Vyavaharika Satta, there will be differences, right? Some people are proficient in trading. Some people are proficient in doing jobs which are necessary for service. Some people are proficient in doing what is called management. Some people are proficient in teaching, and so on and so forth. That is the Vyavaharika Satta. In me, in the earlier shloka itself, he said, "No, I don't have friends, I don't have enemies. I don't think of anybody as a friend or an enemy." So the question of me distinguishing based on what your physical birth is a complete irrelevance. It's a complete irrelevance. So he breaks out here. Very, very, very important, because as you rightly said, this society had become casteist. Karna, despite his prowess, was called a Sutaputra and therefore prevented from battling with Arjuna in the competition, in the convocation, right? The graduation convocation that happened, in that Karna came, replicated all the feats that Arjuna did, and chose to have a battle with. So the first was that he was not a king or a prince, and immediately Duryodhan crowned him the king of Anga. He became the king of Anga. Today, there is incidentally in Bihar, there is an area where they speak a language called Angika. That is the area which was ruled by Karna, South Bihar. So he became the king of Anga. So now he is the king, so therefore he can battle. And that's when then Dronacharya asks him, who is your father? Now Dronacharya didn't ask him. His father came in, his adoptive father, Adirath. Adirath comes in and hugs him, and Karna bowed down to him. That's when the father's identity is discovered, and everybody starts laughing from the Pandava side and the Drupada side. Sutaputra. Poor chap, he lived with that right through his entire life. Right? So, I mean, the second time he's insulted is when Draupadi's Swayamvar happened. So, continually, he lived through all those insults purely based on caste. Even, let's go back even earlier to Ram's time. In Ram's time, Ram was made to behead a Shudra who was reciting the Vedas. People complained there was something wrong that happened, and in Ram Rajya nothing could happen, nothing wrong could happen. So then they discovered that a particular Shudra was doing tapasya by hanging upside down and chanting the Vedas. And in the Ramayana, this is not in the Valmiki Ramayana. So then there is a discussion that happens, and Ram then says that you are allowed to do this in the Kali Yuga. In the Treta Yuga, you are not supposed to do this, and therefore I have to punish you. And he's beheaded, and everything becomes right in the world. Now, incidentally, therefore, what we understand is that there was caste always there. Caste was somewhat a part of the birth system, and so on and so forth. Accept it, no problem. But in the spiritual world, it is irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Not only irrelevant, completely irrelevant. Which is why he says that those who take refuge in me, mam hi partha vyapashritya, taking refuge, those who devote themselves to me. And you can look at that word devotion in whichever way. Now, in going back from here to going forward to verse 33, he then describes, then he says, what about those people then? Let's look at the shloka. Kim puna brahmanaha punya bhakta rajarshayasthatha. Kim puna brahmana punya. Kim puna brahmana punya. Bhakta rajarshayasthatha. Bhakta rajarshayasthatha. Kim puna brahmana punya. Bhakta rajarshayasthatha. Anityamasukham lokam. Anityamasukham lokam. Imam prapya bhajasvamam. Imam prapya bhajasvamam. Anityam asukham lokam. Imam prapya bhajasvamam. Kim puna brahmana punya. Bhakta rajarshayasthatha. Anityamasukham lokam. Imam prapya bhajasvamam. Kim, what? Puna, then. Brahmana, those who are Brahmins, which means those who are knowledgeable about Brahman, not having realized, but they have knowledge of Brahman. That is the meaning of actual, literal meaning of the word Brahmana. Puna, punya, those who are meritorious, those who are doing punya deeds, those who are going towards, and Gurudev's definition, punya, we have seen, is that which is leading us to yoga. Bhakta, those who are devotees. Rajarshaya, saintly kings. Rajarshi, Rishis, king of the Rishis. Right? Two meanings. The Rishis who are lordly. Vishwamitra was given the title of Raja Rishi. Janak was given the title of Raja Rishi. So they are kings who are behaving like Rishis, or those Rishis who have that stature of being like a king. Rajarshi, Rajarshyasthatha. Anityam, transient, continuously changing. Anityam, asukham, that which does not have sukha, that which does not have, which is joyless. Asukham. Lokam, this world, this imam, this world. Prapya, having achieved. Bhajasva, engage in devotion. Do bhajan, mam, of me. So he is saying here, so even if you have been physically born into those papa yonis, you have been born as a woman, you have been born as a Shudra, you have been born as a Vaishya, that which society looks down upon, then what about those who are the people with meritorious deeds, those who are kings, who have the opportunity to do great deeds? What about them then? They have therefore, Arjuna, you have achieved this. You have come into this world. You have come to this joyless, transient, continuously changing world. Use this as an opportunity. Come to me. Devote yourself to me. What is happiness? What is happiness? So therefore, the Vedanta talks of three types of happiness. Taittiriya Upanishad. The first type of happiness is called Vishayananda. Vishayananda. Second type is called Bhajanananda. And the third is called Brahmananda. Vishayananda means bliss that I have got from objects. Bliss that I have got from objects. How do I get bliss from objects? Will you get... Parthada, do you like chocolates? So if I give you a chocolate, will you be happy? Obviously, yes. Then I give you a second one. Will your happiness increase? Maybe. Then I tell you, third. Now the law of diminishing returns starts applying. At the 8th chocolate, you have started vomiting. Correct? So the happiness could not have been in the chocolate. So where did the happiness come from? The happiness came from you. Where did the happiness come from you? From your mind. What is your mind? Your mind is nothing but a reflection of that divine consciousness. So, what is this material happiness? Taittiriya Upanishad gives a beautiful meaning. Taittiriya Upanishad says, happiness is defined like this. First condition, you must be young. You must be young. Right? Because if you are old, you have pains in your joints, you have lost your hair, you have lost your vision, etc., etc. So you must be young. Only being young is not enough. Then you have to be healthy. That is also not enough. Then you have to have all the wealth in the world. All the wealth in the world. But at the same time, you must have a great, very good nature. Tattvika bhava. If you have all four, such a being, if you have all these four things, such a being would be called to have Manushya Ananda. Right? Manushya Ananda. Now, that is the limit of Ananda that I can receive in the Manushya body. Oh, but then there are higher lokas. So there is Gandharva Loka. 100 times of what a Manushya Ananda is what is received by a Gandharva. Taittiriya Upanishad gives this calculation. The next from the Gandharva is the Deva Gandharva. Then there is the Deva, etc., etc., etc. Going right up to Brahma. Going right up to Brahma. Why is Taittiriya Upanishad giving this list? It is showing you that the material happiness that you can get is 10 to the power 20. Right? Obviously, you have to keep changing your body to be able to absorb that much happiness. And you receive to the point of Brahma. But it is still all Vishaya Ananda. It will change. The Vishaya changes, the happiness will go away. So you go to Bhajanananda. What is Bhajanananda? Bhajanananda is the Ananda that you get when you divide it inside and try to get it from inside by living what is called a spiritual life. So you devote it to a Ishta Devata, you devote it to doing devotional practices. This is the saints of the world, the sadhus of the world, the Rishis of the world. The source of happiness, they have tried to reach there and they live that life, Bhajanananda. But Taittiriya Upanishad says that there is one Ananda beyond that. It is called Brahmananda. And Brahmananda is not a separate type of Ananda that you can get. Both Vishayananda and Bhajanananda derive itself from Brahmananda, which is your essential nature. Because you are Sat Chit Ananda. So Gurudev used to give a mathematical formula. He used to say, happiness is equal to desires attained divided by desires pending fulfillment. Right? Desires attained upon total desires. Desires attained upon total desires is equal to happiness. Now, you can increase the happiness either by increasing the numerator or decreasing the denominator. Correct? Simple mathematics. Now, I cannot attain all my desires, so it will always remain a fraction. It will always be less than 1. Now, I have another capacity to do. I remove all desires. Total desire is equal to 0. Now, you divide something by 0, what do you get? Infinity. That is your nature. Because Brahman has no nature. Brahman has no desires. Brahman is Sarvasva. It has no desires. So you put 0 over there. What is the nature of Brahman, therefore? It automatically is Ananda. So, the Gurudev used to come up with this wonderful techniques of allowing us to understand these profound truths in a very simple way. So here he very clearly says that the Ananda is here, not in this transient, not in this temporary, not in this asukha, not in this world which is not permanent. So then in 34, he then says, so therefore, O Arjuna, do something that I am telling you. Manmana bhava mad bhakto, manmana bhava mad bhakto, madhyaji mam namaskuru, madhyaji mam namaskuru, manmana bhava mad bhakto, madhyaji mam namaskuru, mame vashyasi yuktaivam, mame vashyasi yuktaivam, atmanam mat parayanaha, atmanam mat parayanaha, mame veshyasi yuktaivam, atmanam mat parayanaha, manmana bhava mat bhakto, madhyaji mam namaskuru, mame veshyasi yuktaivam, atmanam mat parayanaha. Mat man manaha, mat manaha, keeping your manas on me, all your emotions, redirect them. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to say, emotions will happen. You are on a path where you have not yet attained equanimity. You are not a sthita pragya. So emotions are bound to happen. You will feel happy sometimes, you will feel sad sometimes, you will feel angry sometimes, you will feel disgusted sometimes. But take each emotion and turn it. Turn it. So I'm feeling disgusted with something. And they say, oh, this feeling of disgust, I should be disgusted about myself that I had a thought which is not yours. Just end it for that moment. Every thought, every time you are conscious of a particular emotion, turn it inward. Every time you are conscious of a particular thought, turn it inward. This is what Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to say. Mat manaha, bhava, be. Mat, my, bhaktaha. So take your thoughts, your intellect, and put it onto me, devotee, bhaktaha. Mat, my, yaji, worshipper. What does worship here mean? Yagya, yaji, same root. All karma, right? We saw in chapter 4. From 24 onwards, for 12 verses, we have got all the types of yagya, including breathing, including eating. All those activities, madhyaji, take all karma and redirect it and make it my karma. Surrender all that karma to me. Give me that karma. Mam namaskuru. Namaskuru, naman karna, means to bow your head. What is the head? The head is the seat of the ego. The head is the seat of the ego. If you look at one of the very terrible, ferocious forms of Devi called Chinnamasta, she stands there with her head cut off, indicating that oneness is possible only when that head is cut off, when the ego is lost. When me, mine, aham mama, that goes away. When that aham mama goes away, that is when that ego is lost, and therefore he says, Mam namaskuru. In the earlier chapters we saw now, Pranipatena, bowing down in front of the Guru fully, Shashtanga Namaskara. Does not mean that, oh, every time I see my Guru, I bow down and fall flat. You may do that. But if you have not given up the ego, that is the meaning of it. You can learn only when you are giving up the ego. Here also he says that surrender happens, your oneness happens when you have surrendered. Mam namaskuru. Mam eva eshyasi. You will come to me, certainly, eva. Yuktva, united with me. Evam, thus, atmanam, your manas and your buddhi and your sharira, your complete self. Mat parayanaha, completely dedicated to me. Manas, buddhi, sharira, all three have to be dedicated to me. So now we have come to a point where the logical question should be, then give me an identification of who are you. Till now, you have been talking in theory. So give me an identification of who are you. And that he explains in chapter 10. Who is he? Vibhuti Yoga. Right? Vibhuti Yoga is a chapter which is actually a chapter for practice. It's a beautiful chapter for practice. And when we start that chapter, we will do that. However, next session will be a quiz. So, chapter 1 to 9, complete revision. So let us, and I will, okay, hint, clue is that only those shlokas will be taken and the questions will be, how do you apply this in your life? That is going to be the question. Question is only application based. No meaning required. So it will always be manan. How do you apply this in your own life? That will be the question answer session that we will do. Let us end with a Sankalpa Vakya. Hari Om Tat Sat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Geeta Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. What is the name of the chapter? Akshara Brahma. What is the name of the chapter? Akshara Brahma, isn't it?
Raja Vidya Raja
Raja Vidya Raja.
Raja Vidya Raja Guhya Yogo Nama Navamodhyaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.